Hey, this is Mark Linsenmeyer here at the Newark New Culture video channel here. We're going to talk more about energy independence, alternative energy sources. John, introduce yourself.
I'm John Barrie. I'm the director of the Appropriate Technology Collaborative. We design new technologies for low-income people in developing countries. We also have projects here in the States now.
So part of the Newark vision is that folks in parts of the world that either don't have the infrastructure already to create electricity and do manufacturing and all sorts of things like that can engage in community DIY projects of some sort. Tell me how this sort of fits in with that.
We have an office in Guatemala, and we've also started a solar business in Guatemala. The solar business model is to bring power for the first time to people who don't have electricity. The first few watts of power are an amazing change in a person's life. So with just a 5-watt solar panel and some LED lights and a cell phone charger, we can provide people with bright light for daily activities and also bright light into the evening so they can do some meaningful work at night. Kids can do their homework, and people who live 90 minutes away from the nearest outlet can charge their cell phones at home for the first time.
Tell me about sort of the scope of the project. You've funded a couple of these businesses. Tell me a little more about the rollout.
So we've started one. We have two that we're starting in 2015. A solar business with a good business plan in Guatemala can sell 1,000 households, household lighting systems in a year, plus several larger scale systems to go with that. So we're selling systems from our smallest one is 2 watts. It's a 2-watt little solar panel that you put on the roof, and you have a little solar light that you have in the house. It still has a cell phone charger, up to 2,000 watts. And these bring huge changes to people's lives. You say, energy and homework, home/work, having electricity in your house makes it possible to do work after the sun goes down. And everybody wants to see at night. One of the nice things about it is the business model. Right now, people are spending money on candles and kerosene lamps between 80 cents a week and $4 a week. And instead of spending money on something that you burn and have nothing left over, you can purchase over time a solar light and solar panel, an LED light and solar panel, and within 6 months, the system's paid off, and you have bright light in your house plus the ability to charge a cell phone. And also, most of our systems are large enough to sell to run a small radio. So this is connectivity for a lot of people. One, the cell phone's connectivity; they text, and two, having a radio is a type of connectivity. We're working in an area of Guatemala which is majority indigenous population. There's several different languages that they speak there. There's actually over 20 languages that they speak in Guatemala that are the indigenous languages. And for some people, it's their first language. So I know people who learned Quiche before they learned Spanish. I know people who learned Quiche or Cachiquel, or I can't name all of the languages. But these people listen to radio now in their native indigenous language, which is a source of pride for them. Also, it's a source of community building. So having access just to a few watts of power brings that into a person's life. Now, by the way, my television wastes way more than that when it's turned off. And I'm talking about a tiny amount of electricity. 5 watts is very modest by most people's standards.
It sounds like something that, a good service to serve that community. How do you determine so these businesses are owned by local folks? What is the relationship between your organization and these businesses that are set up?
We're helping incubate the businesses. First of all, we've been teaching solar just as a way of providing technical education and finding out whether there's interest in solar power. We've been teaching solar for several years. When we first started teaching solar, 98% of the people who signed up for the class were guys. And we asked, where are the women? Are women interested in solar? Because it seems like in the United States, there's more of a balanced group of people that are interested in solar power. And we're a little slow. It took us a while to figure out that Mayan women, indigenous women, won't take technical classes with guys in the class after about the age of 12. Same thing with guys. They won't take a technical class with girls in the class after the age of about 12. I don't ask why, because I don't understand it. But we offered an all-girl class as taught by women. So we trained women teachers, and we've been offering this all-woman class. They call themselves girls, by the way. I asked, "Do you want to be called women or girls?" And they said, "We're girls. Deal with it." Anyway, we're teaching all women classes now, and actually this next year we'll be teaching all women classes plus some mixed gender classes. But the all women classes have the opportunity to start a business. We provide business incubation services to people who are highly motivated to start a business. And the lights are and the solar power systems are for sale. They're not to give away. We don't give anything away. It's one of our philosophies is to empower people, not to create dependency. And we help make that possible for people to afford them.
Now, is the idea that you're spreading this information and then that will get spread further and somehow this will be scalable beyond your immediate efforts, that you're not just creating one business, you're creating something that will spawn a bunch of future enterprises?
Yes. However, there's been a spate of failures of small scale nonprofits to scale up, to reach much larger scale. People want to dump a few $1,000,000 into a project and take over the world. There's something called the play pump, which was a merry-go-round that kids would play on, and as they spun it around, it would pump water for a village. That received tremendous amount of funding early on, and it didn't have the right attention paid to it to scale it. So in its scaling efforts, it actually went broke. It went broke with millions of dollars, but it went broke, and there's a lot of play pumps around the world that don't work. So it becomes a tremendous eyesore also to have a technology that's supposed to be this joyful thing and have it sitting rusting in the middle of the playground.
What's the lesson to be learned from that in terms of the organizational structures to set up to continue to support these kind of things?
We collaborate with high-functioning nonprofits, high-functioning designers, really high-skilled designers to create technologies that are appropriate for the local environment that we're moving into. Solar lighting is a little bit easier. It's very, very low maintenance, and so we're looking to scale that, but we're going to take it slowly. We want to make sure that we have a very high success rate, and we'd like to maintain that. And so, two businesses in 2015, two more in 2016, and then we start training other nonprofits to do the same. There's people all over the world who want to do this. And we'll take lessons learned and train other nonprofits and let them know that it's a couple of years to get your first project in the ground and running and successful, and that you have to stay with it. We have a minimum commitment of 5 years for our businesses. So we're spending a lot of time on each one of our startups. But that's what works.
In terms of the structure of the businesses that you're incubating, I mean, is it so it's centered around one especially motivated individual or a small group, or how does the structure actually work?
We're looking at groups of about 6. That's enough to have somebody who can run a store and somebody who can do bookkeeping and some sales agents and somebody who's in charge of the warehouse. So it's almost like a franchise model is what we're developing, where we'll have our own products and we'll have rules for how to sell it and how to identify markets and that sort of thing, and continuing education. Franchisees go to meetings quarterly to learn sales techniques, that sort of thing. We'll be doing the same, although we aren't calling it a franchise yet.
So you had mentioned this might be the project that's farther along, but that there were ones involving other energy sources or in other locations that were in the pipeline. Can you tell me about some of those other efforts?
One that's in the pipeline right now, we're really excited about this. It is a thermoelectric generator that works with existing wood stoves and new wood stoves. Wood cooking with wood is the most popular method of cooking in Guatemala. And when you get into the rural parts of Guatemala, it's pretty much the only method of cooking. And we're helping add value to clean burning wood stoves. We're working with a manufacturer of clean burning wood stoves to incorporate thermoelectric generation into the flue of a wood stove or into the burn chamber of a wood stove to create a few watts of power, up to 5 watts of power. And that's similar to some of our smaller solar systems, and it will bring the same benefits. It'll provide light and cell phone charging, that sort of thing.
Great.
We have many other technologies. They're not all power related technologies, but one of the things we've done, we looked at a village many years ago now, 5 years, 6 years. It could go back farther than that if I think about it. And we wanted to start some sort of micro enterprise with the people that live in this village. And we looked at what they had and their capacities and their existing skill sets and the infrastructure where they were living. And it turned out that the water supply was so bad for this village that they spent a lot of time hunting for water, girls carrying water in jugs on their heads. And if they didn't have a reliable water supply, we were not going to get any sort of business started, because when the well went dry, they were going out in pickup trucks and picking up big, essentially barrels full of water and bringing them back. And this is just consuming all of the spare time and all of the spare money that was available in the village. And so we realized that we needed to help fix the water supply first. And it was an effort with Engineers Without Borders, Appropriate Technology Collaborative, the Village Water Committee, who put in a tremendous amount of work, and the municipal government. And everybody contributed something to the project. Engineers Without Borders fundraised for it, which was great work. But the village individually, the households chipped in extra money. The village municipal government paid for a share of it, and the water supply was rebuilt. It had a non-functioning water supply, essentially. It was rebuilt. And this summer, the Engineers Without Borders team, by the way, from Rutgers University, shout out to Rutgers, they came in and checked it after a year of operation. And the village is able to maintain the system, understand the system, collect money, tax money, and fund the maintenance of the project. And so it's a big success. It only took 5 years. I think 3 of those years were spent in committee meetings. But after 5 years, it's an overnight success. And now we're looking at opportunities to create micro enterprises, small scale enterprises in that village. But we had to solve the big problem first.
So how would one sort of start if you decide that you're a nonprofit or you want to start a nonprofit to fund micro enterprises? How do you get into this?
That's a great question. What I did, I can just speak from my experience. I checked a few countries, checked with some friends, and a friend of mine who was a tech reporter for National Public Radio, I found out she was going to Guatemala at one point, and she had done a report on some engineers who work in Guatemala. And these are people with tremendous talent. I realized that from her report on the capacity of this engineering firm, that they were young, aggressive, out to change the world, creating new technologies, creating biodiesel, creating water turbines, creating solar hot water heaters, those sorts of things. Biodigesters, which use waste from animals, waste from human beings to create natural gas for a house. So you can actually burn a really clean burning fuel in your house and also get rid of waste at the same time. Anyway, these guys they were already doing what we would like to do. And so I went down, met with them. We did a small lighting project. We designed a new circuit board for what we're working on to make it more efficient. And from that meeting with them, we continued a relationship. And over time, we went to visited other communities and asked a lot of questions. The first couple of years were primarily spent asking questions.
Is there any opportunity for folks to get involved with your group?
Yeah, actually, we have 4 open volunteer projects per year. They're online somewhere. They're on our Facebook page at least, okay? The Appropriate Technology Collaborative on Facebook. And there's 1 and 2 week trips. We also have a permanent office in Guatemala. And our Guatemala program manager is a gifted person who really runs the show down there. And we can now host interns who want to spend like a semester working with us These are people that have just graduated from college, are in college, very self motivated. You have to be very much a self starter to work with us in Guatemala as an individual volunteer. But we have a couple of engineers in Guatemala right now. One is from Austria, Nadine, and she's been working on bicycle powered technologies. One was a way of, okay, I'm going to use the wrong terms here. It's separating the corn seed from the corn cob. There's a name for that. I, I'm not Eli Whitney, okay? But there's a name for the device she created, but it's a bicycle powered. You use the strong legs, in your strong muscles in your legs to separate corn from the cob. And it's something that, the corn dries in the field. It's a very hard corn that they have, and then they separating it. Sometimes they do it by hand, and it takes days to to separate corn from the cobs manually. And this does it not automatically, but it does it through human power, and it's much faster operation. And she also, well, a future project working with her is we have I wish I had photographs I could show you. We designed a generator made out of recycled microwave oven parts. We know of a company that our team in Guatemala actually helped launch, that recycles appliances. And every microwave oven has two large magnets in it and a big coil of wires. And those are the magic things that make generators work. And we've designed a generator that uses recycled wheel hubs, from automotive wheel hubs, very durable, very strong, and recycled microwave oven parts. And it's it's a powerful generator. It's very easy to get started. That's one of the problems with generators is that, like, if you have a wind turbine generator, sometimes it takes a lot of energy just to get it to start to rotate. It's called cogging. You can feel it's hard to get it to start. Once it's going, it's easy to keep it spinning. Ours starts up with there's no load to get it started. The cut-in speed is very low for it. So it's an ideal generator for wind turbines. We can use it with water turbines. We can also use it with bicycle power because it's inexpensive to build. And somebody could spend 15 minutes on a stationary bicycle and spool up enough electricity to run for the entire day.
So it sounds like it's not just organizational efforts that you're doing, but you're actually helping to create innovative technologies here. Are these more or less open source, or how would you get these ideas out in the world? Is that part of the goal?
Many of our designs, not all of them, but many of our designs are open source. I believe the generator, once we've prototyped it again, we've done it in the States. We want to prototype it at our workshop in Guatemala, show that it can be done in developing countries with the local resources, get the local team to build it, then we'll put it online. We already have online two different types of pumps for farmers, a solar vaccine refrigerator for use in rural Africa and Asia, a treadle pump, which is a human-powered pump, and we're putting on a way of making biochar. Are you familiar with biochar?
No.
It's a way of making charcoal, essentially. It's turning waste agricultural products or wood into charcoal, which you can then use as soil amendment. It actually really helps attract the right type of bacteria to help plants grow. And so it's also a way of sequestering carbon. So it's a carbon, it sequesters carbon rather than releasing carbon into the atmosphere. And it's also great for making farms work better. So you get more production out of a farm plot and you get carbon sequestration at the same time. So it's growing more and more popular in permaculture circles. So that's a technology that we have yet to publish, but it's on my computer, but not on the website yet. The solar vaccine refrigerator is a refrigerator, which, by the way, is designed in collaboration with Michigan State University. And it is a refrigerator that you can build anywhere in the world out of locally available parts. It actually has no moving parts, does not use electricity of any kind. You put it in the sun and it freezes stuff. And it doesn't break any of the laws of thermodynamics. It is just a real simple way of keeping things cold. And it's on the website. Don't make me go into how it works because that gets into a very long conversation. But it's a simple, recreational vehicles have refrigerators in them right now that run on propane, runs on heat. Propane creates a flame and it creates heat, and it makes a refrigeration cycle work. This is a slightly different cycle than that, but it uses heat to make cold, and it's just not that difficult.
All right. So we will put out a link to your page where people can get information on your current efforts and the current technologies. Any last words in terms of other things that we haven't mentioned, or best practices for the kind of activity that you're engaged in, or anything else?
I can only think of like going through what we're going through now, which is we've had this year of tremendous success. We've grown a lot, and managing growth is always a challenge. We have the tremendous good fortune to be doing really well and creating a lot of opportunity for people. We work in Guatemala. We have projects in Nicaragua. We've taken design teams to India. And right now, I'm really consumed by the effort it takes to grow the firm sustainably so that, 20 years from now, it's still around, even though I'm not.
Right.
If you have any good ideas on that, please send me a link.
All right. Well, this is very exciting stuff. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Good talking to you. Take care.